Hello, everybody. Today we'll be talking about providing telehealth services. So this is a quote that I think is just really great about behavior analysis, or actually it's about magic, but I think it's really applicable to behavior analysis. And that's any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And that was said by Arthur C. Clarke. And what's really amazing about ABA is people very often tell me that after we've treated their child or worked on a family problem, that it was like magic. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about adding telehealth to that magic and how it's a little bit different and how we can still ensure that we get those same results. So what is telehealth? Telehealth itself is a modality. It's not a treatment, but it's typically the use of communication technologies to facilitate treatment. Typically, the host and the receiving site are at distant locations. So you'll have an expert at one location and the client at a second location, and they are not in the same building or sometimes in the same city or sometimes even in the same country. And there's services that are delivered, typically healthcare services, and that's why it's called telehealth. The idea is that the standard of care is equivalent to face-to-face treatment. So in summary, telehealth is for ABA is delivering ABA services remotely, not at the same site as the other person, uses technology and video conferencing platforms, primarily parent-led sessions with the BCBA or RBT coaching the parent. It is a great way of disseminating ABA to parents in the natural environment. And typically we use behavioral skills training, modeling, role play practicing, direct feedback, verbal and written instruction to get to transfer those the ABA skills to the parents. So I did a little Google because I was interested in what was the first telehealth, and this popped up in 1924, the radio doctor. So this was a case of a doctor actually radioing in and being able to take your pulse, your temperature, and readings popping out. So that was 1924 where we used kind of the first use of technology. So then I thought, I'm going to read a little bit further back, and I Googled this term telemedicine, and telemedicine is really, as you would expect, using technology for medicinal purposes versus healthcare services, which are different, as medicinal services are typically provided by physicians, and that those healthcare services, those supporting healthcare services, is what categorizes ABA. So back in the day, very first thing, ancient times, there were smoke signals, fires, drums, horns, and that was typically a way of communicating via distance. Then what you just saw, we had the telephone and the telegraph and the radio. That was the very early telemedicine and telehealth. After that, there was the very early hardware and software, think like early big computers, where you had to have somebody manning the computer and working the computer with you, somebody at each site. These are with a telepresenter is what that helper was called. Then 2.0 is the internet emerges and it becomes widely available to everybody. And today, that's how we've been able to combine telehealth and ABA to get our telehealth ABA. So some quick terms: the host or distance site is the site where the expert or the BCBA is located. The receiving or origination site is the site where the patient or client is located at the time of service. Synchronous means there's real-time interaction between the host and the distance site. And asynchronous means there's a transfer of health information from one site to another without the patient or client present at the time of transmission. That's often called store and forward. And so if you think about synchronous, that's what you would think about when you think video conferencing. You're there, they're there, everything's happening in real time. Asynchronous might be something like you video yourself with a client, or the parent videos themselves with their kid and somehow sends it to the BCBA, who then reviews it. So the California ABA CalABA group developed this figure, which I think is pretty helpful. The synchronous intervention is what I just described. Your supervisor's at one site, the caregiver, or it could also be you, are at a different site. Both of you have audio and video device, so you might both have computers or you both might have phones. There's an ongoing intervention or meeting, so a live meeting at the origination site where the client is. And there's feedback and instruction by the ABA supervisor from the distance site to the origination site in real time. So this is different than the asynchronous model, where the technician or parent performs tasks assigned by the ABA supervisor. They then could audio or video record themselves, send the recordings to the supervisor at the other site. The supervisor then performs the analysis of the data and video for the team feedback, and then they may provide the feedback in real time. So they may actually then hop on a video conference and then provide the feedback. They may record themselves and then send it to the feedback. They may send an email, but at some point the origination site then reviews the supervisor feedback. So CalABA, they put out this policy paper, and also TexABA did as well. So I would highly recommend you review both of those. But they kind of talked about these potential applications of telehealth to common BACB services. So behavior analytic assessment, treatment planning, direct treatment, supervision, equitable access, caregiver trainings, consultations to ensure continuity, and discharge planning. I will tell you that the only thing that has support right now is the the caregiver trainings and supervision by behavior analyst. There's no research to support the direct treatment. There is no research to support the discharge planning, consultation to ensure continuity, or behavior analytics skill assessment. Behavior assessment is actually evidence-based from the literature. So when comparing modalities, it's very important. A lot of you guys have had experience already in vivo training. So this is where a trained and certified therapist is administering the treatment. So getting back to in vivo, this is where a trained and certified therapist administers the treatment with the BCBA supervision. It's in home or clinic-based, typically a higher dosage, 10 to 30 hours a week. You're looking at more comprehensive skill development, and there's more controlled context. You are able to program SGs, and you're able to largely ensure that distractors are not a part of the program. So telehealth, this is the caregiver implementing with the BCBA, coaching remotely. It's in-home, lower dosage, more program focused programming, emphasis on key skills and generalization, target skills based on relevant variables, and session structure is largely defined based on the home context. So I want to share this with you guys. This is a handout available on the TexABA resource page for caregivers, and it kind of summarizes the difference between face-to-face and telehealth sessions. And I think this is very important for you guys to see, but also for caregivers to understand that telehealth is not just clinic-based services via video conferencing. It's a different environment, and as we as behavior analysts know, the environment is a huge impact, has a huge impact on our behavior. And so naturally, our intervention will look a little bit different. So benefits of telehealth: increase in parent training opportunities. Families get to learn how to work and interact with their child. Eliminates the need to travel to appointments, allows practitioners to observe clients in their natural environment. And there's some literature to suggest it's cost efficient, not just for families, but for treatment. Challenges, there's quite a few. So not being physically present to assist, there's HIPAA considerations, troubleshooting technology issues such as the camera is blurry or poor lighting, technology may not be available on both ends. There's always delays in audio transmission, typically about 3 seconds. And right now, currently, telehealth is only limited to parent training. Like I said, because direct therapy via telehealth is not research-based. So some solutions and some things that we're gonna work on is being effectively able to disseminate ABA to the parent, providing pauses to compensate for delays in transmission, coaching parents how to set up the meeting, how to adjust when the client leaves the area, using a HIPAA compliant software like Zoom, only conducting sessions in private offices, using headphones, maybe white noise machines, and creating ATC has a lending library that you're going to be able to use to loan devices to families. So the point of this training, you will meet with your BCBA trained in telehealth and learn how to successfully implement a telehealth session. So the next steps are for you to meet with your BCBA, review the training rubric step by step. The rubric is broken down into setting up a session, preparing for a session, implementing a session, and wrapping up a session. So 4 distinct areas. We will also address common challenges beyond technical and solutions discussed in the Lerman et al. Article that was published this year. So I encourage you to review that article by Lerman et al. This is just a sample of the table that they provided challenges and solutions for that you should get familiar with, such as the caregiver or the client is not always in view, might be a challenge, and the solution might be coaching the parent to modify the camera position, session location, moving furniture, and using multiple cameras. There's a lot of different potential solutions. So these are all the things that we're gonna practice with you. So training with your BCBA, you are done. You have finished the video. Please schedule the training with your BCBA trainer so that you can go on to the next level.